Hi and welcome to this Key Learning Initiative video. Today's topic is linear equations, working with fractions, and it's part A. So, linear equations. I use 7 steps to solve all linear equations. All 7 can be found in the first comment below. Today I'm using many of the steps, but for simple examples with fractions. There's more complicated ones, but I'm doing those in the next video. So let's have a look at our steps. Step 1. If there are fractions, multiply by the LCD, or the lowest common denominator. If there are brackets, use the distributive law to eliminate them. Step 3. Simplify both sides if possible. Step 4. Choose which side the variable terms are going on and which side the constant terms are going on. Step 5. By adding or subtracting, move all the variable terms to the chosen side from step 4. Step 6. By adding or subtracting, move all the constant terms to the no variable side or the other side. Step 7. By dividing by the coefficient of the variable, get it by itself. And once you've done that, you've solved your equation. So let's look at example 1. I have x over 2 equals 4. Let's bring in our steps. If there are fractions, multiply by the LCD. So that's step 1. Here we have fractions. My LCD is 2. Now I multiply each term by 2. Let's have a look at how I do that. X over 2 times 2 over 1 equals, and then 4 times 2. Notice when I have fractions, I multiply by 2 over 1. When I don't have fractions, I just multiply by 2. It's the same number, but just easier way of setting it out. Now we can cancel on our left-hand side. 2 goes there once, and 2 goes there once. Now if we look at the left-hand side, my numerator, I have x times 1, and my denominator, I have 1 times 1. And so that's x over 1, which actually equals x. X over 1 equals x. So, on my left-hand side, x equals, and 4 times 2 is 8. And that is step 1 done. Are there any brackets for step 2? No, they're not, so that's done. Simplify both sides if possible. Don't need to. So, step 4, choose which side the variable terms are. Don't need to. Step 5, by adding or subtracting. We don't need to. Step 6, by adding or subtracting, move the constant terms to the no variable side. No, don't need to do that. Sorted. And step 7, by dividing by the coefficient of the variable, get it by itself. It is already by itself, and so my answer is x equals 8. Do you see that you only had to do basically one step? Although I went through all the steps, the first one was actually enough to get the answer. Let's look at another example. Example 2. Minus 2 equals 2y over 3. Let's bring in our steps. Step 1. If there are fractions, multiply by the LCD. If we look at our equation, our LCD is 3. 3 is in the denominator on the right-hand side of our equation. We multiply every term by 3. So on my left-hand side, I have minus 2 times 3, and that equals, on my right-hand side, I have 2y over 3 times by 3 over 1. Notice if I have integers, I multiply just by another integer. If I have fractions, I make my LCD into a fraction. Now let's do it. Negative 2 times 3 gives us negative 6. That equals, and now we need to cross cancel. So 3 goes there once, 3 goes there once. Now on my top, or my numerator, I have 2y times 1, which is 2y. In my denominator, I have 1 times 1. So I have 2y over 1. And 2y over 1 equals 2y. Step 1, done. Step 2, if there are any brackets, well, there's no brackets. Step 3, simplify both sides if possible. Well, they already are, simplify it. Let's look at our next few steps. Step 4, choose which side the variable terms are going on and which side the constant terms are going on. Well, they're already on their own side. So step 4 is done. Step 5, by adding or subtracting, move all the variable terms to the chosen side. Well, they already are. Step 6, by adding or subtracting, move all the constant terms to the no variable side. Well, they already are. However, step 7, by dividing by the coefficient of the variable, get it by itself. So what's in front of my y? It's 2, and so I divide both sides by 2. Negative 6 divided by 2 gives me negative 3, and that equals 2y divided by 2 gives me y. Step 7 is done, and that means that y equals negative 3 is the correct answer. Let's look at example 3. X over 4 equals 3 over 6. Let's bring in our steps. If there are fractions, multiply by the LCD. Now, if we're looking at my denominators, I have a 4 and a 6. Therefore, my lowest common denominator would be 12. Now I need to multiply both sides by 12. So I have x over 4 times by 12 over 1. And that equals 3 over 6 times by 12 over 1. Now we need to cancel or simplify. So I have x over 4 times 12 over 1. Let's have a look. 4 goes there 3 times and 4 goes there once. Is there anywhere else that I can simplify on the left hand side? No, there isn't. That means that I have x times 3 in my numerator, which is 3x over 1 times 1. 3x over 1 is just 3x. That equals, now let's cancel on my right hand side. And there's different ways to do this. This is the way I'm doing it. So 6 goes there twice, 6 goes there once. In my numerator, I have 3 times 2. In my denominator, I have 1 times 1, and so I have 6 over 1, which is just 6. And that is step 1, complete. As in previous examples, there's no point in step 2 because there's no brackets. We don't need to simplify. Step 4, we don't need to choose which side. Step 5, we don't need to move anything. Step 6, we don't need to move anything. Step 7, by dividing by the coefficient of the variable, get it by itself. What is in front of my x? It's 3, and so I divide both sides by 3. On the left hand side, I have 3x divided by 3, which just gives me x, and that equals 6 divided by 3 is 2. Step 7 done, and that means that my answer is x equals 2. So thank you for watching this Key Learning Initiative video on linear equations, where we're working with fractions. Please like and share and subscribe to this channel so that more and more people can have help.